Hi, I'm Barry Chandler from managerbar.com. Today we're going to look at how to control your food cost, how to manage a profitable kitchen, and how to beat your competitors by having the tightest food cost control. Food cost control is the process whereby you as a business owner control the cost of every single item that you purchase as an ingredient, and you also control the cost of every single item you sell in the bar or restaurant as a finished product. If you're not controlling every aspect of the food cost control cycle, then I guarantee that you're leaving money on the table. And quite frankly, it's easy money. There are 7 steps in the food cost control cycle. We'll look at each one in detail today. But once you've got an understanding and a knowledge, a working knowledge of the 7 steps of the food cost control cycle, you're well armed to analyse your business more in depth, to look at areas you haven't even looked at before, or to pay more attention to areas you thought were doing fine, but maybe you're not so sure now. Okay, let's look at the 7 steps. They are: number 1, forecasting; number 2, ordering; number 3 is receiving; number 4 is storing; number 5 is cooking and handling; number 6 is service; and number 7 is receiving payment. These are the 7 steps of the food cost control cycle that I'm going to talk more about right now. So the first one, forecasting. Okay, before you place your orders, you're going to want to forecast what's your usage expected to be. How much of each product are you going to need for the cycle, the ordering cycle of that particular product? How do you know what you need? Well, what are you going to look at? You're going to look at historical usage. What have you used before in a similar period? If you're ordering 4 weeks into the future, what did you order for 4 weeks in the past? Similar time scale, similar events taking place perhaps that you can compare to. You should always compare like with like. If you've been in business a couple of months or a couple of years, you'll have historical data that you can compare expected usage with past historical usage. You can say, okay, this week I've got a large event coming into the bar, I've got a party on upstairs in the bar I need to cater for. You're going to take all this into consideration. You're going to look at your storage capabilities. How much can you physically store? There's no point in over-ordering because historically it says you need this much if you really can't even store it. You might need an extra delivery, so you might need to order for such a long period of time. You need to look at what events are taking place locally. Is there a big sporting event on in the ordering period? Is there a concert on locally? Is there any kind of event, a festival taking place that you need to take into consideration? Could there be a spin-off for the bar or the restaurant as a result of this event? If so, you need to compensate in your ordering for it. You also need to leave a little bit of room for human error and a little bit of a safety. Maybe 10%, 10 to 15% extra just in case. You might have a particular run on a product that it wasn't so popular in the past, but suddenly it's very popular. You don't want to run out. If you've got the space, it's okay to take in an extra 10%. After you've done your forecasting, you've put down on paper what you expect to use, you're going to have to do your ordering. Number 2 in the food cost control cycle. So, for the ordering, first thing you do, you've got your list of suppliers in front of you. You know which supplier supplies which product. You're going to create a purchase order document for each supplier. So, on each purchase order, the essential items that you need to mark down are the date of the order, the date you expect to receive the order into the business, which is very important, 2 different dates, the date of the order and the date you need that set of items in the business. You're going to put down the quantity that you need, description of the item, and the cost of the item. Very important. Now, not every business needs you to send them in a purchase order. You might place your order over a telephone. You might email in your order, just in the body of an email. But by creating a purchase order, what you're doing is you're creating a paper trail. You're creating another line of defense in the food cost control cycle. Okay? Now, what are you going to do with this purchase order? Well, you're going to give this purchase order to the person who receives these items when they're delivered on the day. They then know what to expect. Your supplier can't over-deliver. He can't under-deliver. He can't charge you more for a product than is already on the purchase order. So, the purchase order is a great line of defense. Now, I'm not a big fan of ringing around at the ordering stage 20 different suppliers asking for the best price on a certain product, because I think it's counterproductive. I think you're wasting a lot of time doing this. Far better is at the start of the year to put your items out for tender. Contact all the suppliers you wish to tender for supplying your business. Now, there's going to be market variations throughout the year. Fruit, vegetables, certain products are going to be in season at certain times of the year. Their prices are going to depend on market availability, and that's okay. Okay, it's not going to vary by a whole lot. But the items that you can lock in place and you can contract for 6 months, for a year, are your dry goods. Your alcohol can often be contracted for significant periods of time. And once you've got that in place, it's another line of defense for you. It's one less thing to worry about, because once it's in contract, it's down on paper. Even if the delivery docket on the day when they deliver the item says a price far higher, you've already got your contracted price. You know you're not going to pay more than that. So I suggest contracting the prices for as many items as you can, putting the items out to tender. Okay, step number 3 is the receiving. So you've done your forecasting, you've placed your orders, now you're expecting your orders to be received. What do you need to consider with receiving? Okay, first and most important thing to consider with receiving is that you, as a business owner, set the time of deliveries. The supplier cannot choose when they're going to deliver. You tell the supplier, the vendor, when you want them to deliver. I advise businesses to set a time scale, set a window. Let's say between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. or whatever suits you best. But 2 or 3 hours or whatever it is, leave a bit of room there for the various vendors and suppliers to get to you. But during that time, during that window, you need to assign somebody to be ready to receive the goods. That can be a supervisor, it can be you, it can be somebody that you trust to receive goods correctly. So when they're receiving goods at the time that you've specified, okay, and you can have a sign on the back door at the receiving door saying goods will only be received at this time, at no other time will they be accepted, nobody else can sign for them, only the person at the receiving door. You set the rules for the vendors. When the person is receiving the goods, they should have a copy of the purchase order that you created at the time of ordering. Why do they need this? Don't they already get a delivery docket from the driver? Yes, they do. But you need to have your receiving person compare the purchase order you made with what's being delivered on the day. And it should be exactly the same. If you've ordered 20 pounds of beef strip loin, you need to be receiving 20 pounds of strip loin. If you've ordered 40 pounds of carrots, you need to be receiving 40 pounds of carrots. The receiving person didn't place the order. They're only going by what you've written down on the purchase order, and it's their job to check the purchase order against the delivery docket. Okay. If you've ordered by weight, as is the case with meats, with vegetables, with fish, then you check by weight. So if you've ordered 22 pounds, you weigh it. You weigh and find out, do I have 22 pounds? If you've got 26 pounds, you can choose whether to accept it or not. Maybe it's because it's 2 or 3 large pieces of fish where it's not really possible to round it down. That's okay. But if the weight is below what it says on the delivery docket, then you've got a problem. Let's say they say on the delivery docket, I'm delivering you 15 pounds of beef tenderloin, and there's only 13 pounds in the box, and you've weighed it, you can see it. Then what do? The receiving person needs to mark it down on the delivery docket. Short 2 pounds and refund needed. Okay? Once they've finished receiving, once they're happy that everything is there, they've made all the adjustments they need to the delivery docket, they then attach the delivery docket to the purchase order, okay? Thus completing the receiving. Those 2 pieces of paper are stapled together and sent to accounts. When the vendor bills your business, accounts can go back and check, yes, we actually received that in, everybody was happy, job done. This may seem very natural or very normal to you or very easy, or of course that's what I do in my business. You'd be surprised how many businesses I've come across that do none of this. I've come across businesses where I've turned up at 9 o'clock in the morning and there are pallets of food waiting in the back with no drivers, nothing. They've all left and they just stuff their delivery docket into the pallet and they're gone. And whoever opens the door first in the morning just takes everything in and puts it on the shelves. Nothing is checked. Don't be like that. Control your cost of receiving. Okay. Step number 4, storage. Okay. Of course, if you receive frozen goods, you put them in the freezer. You receive refrigerated goods, you put them in the fridge. Sounds easy. Listen, you need to take a special care of this. You're dealing with foodstuffs. You're dealing with food safety. When food arrives at a certain temperature, you need to make sure it stays at that temperature. You can't have food sitting out in the back lot for an hour at a time.